Well, after that Gunsmoke reference, I must be Miss Kitty. Because I'm sure not Matt Dillon. I decided to divide this particular portion of concepts for wisdom into a second part. So this will be the first part of the wisdom literature of God. There are 5 books in the Old Testament that are considered wisdom literature: Job, Psalms, Proverbs, Ecclesiastes. There's no way I could tackle all the good stuff in all 5 books in 20 minutes or so. So I'm going to focus on one of my favorite books, one of the most remarkable books ever written, period, the book of Job, otherwise known as Why Does God Permit Evil? Or Why Do Bad Things Happen to Good People? Why do good things happen to bad people? Don't bad things happen to bad people? Don't good things happen to bad people? In the land of Uz, there lived a man whose name was Job. This man was blameless and upright. He feared God and shunned evil. He had 7 sons and 3 daughters, and he owned 7,000 sheep, 3,000 camels, 500 yoke of oxen, and 500 donkeys. And he had a large number of servants. He was the greatest man among all the people of the East. His sons used to take turns holding feasts in their homes, and they would invite their 3 sisters to eat and drink with them. When a feasting period had run its course, Job would send and have them purified. Early in the morning, he would sacrifice a burnt offering for each of them, thinking, well, perhaps my children have sinned and cursed God in their hearts. This was Job's regular custom. He was a good father. One day the angels came to present themselves before the Lord, and Satan also came with them. The Lord said to Satan, "Where have you come from?" Satan answered the Lord, "From roaming the earth and going back and forth in it." Then the Lord said to Satan, "Have you considered my servant Job? There is none on earth like him. He is blameless and upright, a man who fears God and shuns evil." "Does Job fear God for nothing?" said Satan. Famous line. Does Job fear God for nothing? Of course he's blameless and upright. You protect him. You have built a hedge around him. That's Mark's version. Here's the text. Have you not hedged him and his household and everything he has? You have blessed the work of his hands, so that his flocks and his herds are spread throughout the land. But stretch out your hand and strike everything he has, and he will surely curse you to your face. The Lord said to Satan, "Very well then, everything he has is in your hands, but on the man himself do not lay a finger." Then Satan went out from the presence of the Lord. One day, when Job's sons and daughters were feasting and drinking and having a great time at the older brother's house, a messenger came to Job and said, "The oxen were in the fields plowing, and the donkeys were grazing nearby, and the Sabeans attacked and carried them off. They put the servants to the sword, and I alone have escaped to tell you." While he was speaking, another messenger came and said, "The fire of God fell from the sky and burned up the sheep and all of the servants, and I alone have escaped to tell you." While he was speaking, another messenger came and said, "The Chaldeans formed a band, and a raiding party swept down on your camels and carried them off. They put the servants to the sword, and I alone have escaped to tell you." While he was speaking, another messenger came in and said, "Your sons and daughters were feasting and drinking wine at the oldest brother's house." When suddenly a mighty wind swept in from the desert and struck all 4 corners of the house, it collapsed on them, and they are dead, and I alone have escaped to tell you. At this, Job tore his robe, shaved his head, and fell to the ground in worship, and said, "Naked I came from my mother's womb, and naked I will depart. The Lord gave, and the Lord has taken away. May the name of the Lord be praised." In all of this, Job did not sin by charging God with wrongdoing. On On another day, the angels came to present themselves before the Lord, and Satan came with them again. Lord and Satan had a conversation. Where have you come from? Satan answered the Lord, from roaming through the earth and going back and forth in it. Then the Lord said to Satan, have you considered my servant Job? There is no one on earth like him. He is blameless and upright, a man who fears God and shuns evil, and he still maintains his integrity, even though you incited me against him to ruin him without any reason. Skin for skin, Satan replied. A man will give all he has for his own life. Another famous line. But stretch out your hand and strike his flesh and bones, and he will surely curse you to your face. Aren't you glad Satan didn't ask God for permission to do this to you? The Lord said to Satan, very well, he is in your hands, but you must spare his life. You can't kill him. So Satan went out from the presence of the Lord and afflicted Job with painful sores from the soles of his feet to the top of his head. Then Job took a piece of pottery and scraped himself with it as he sat in the ashes. His wife said to him, are you still holding on to your integrity? Curse God and die. Don't you love a good woman behind a good man? He said to his wife, you are talking like a foolish woman. Shall we accept good from God and not trouble? In all of this, Job did not sin in anything he said. It reminds me of when Jesus said, God sends the rain and the sun on the evil and the good. He's an equal opportunity God. Shall we only accept the good and not the evil? Foolish woman. That's why I never married one. When Job's three friends, Eliphaz the Temanite, Bildad the Shuhite, smallest man in the Bible, and Zophar the Naamathite, heard about all the troubles, they agreed to get together and go and comfort him. When they saw him from a distance, they could hardly recognize him. They began to weep out loud. They tore their clothes and put dust on their heads. Then they sat on the ground, never leaving his side for 7 days and 7 nights. No one said a word to him, because they saw how great his suffering was. After this, Job opened his mouth and cursed the day of his birth. He said, may the day of my birth perish, and the night I was born be stricken. May that day turn to darkness. May God above not care about it. May no light shine upon it. I wish I had never been brought out from the womb. Man is born to trouble, as certainly as sparks fly upward from a fire. Man is born to trouble. I loathe my very life. Why then did you bring me from the womb? I wish I had died before any eye saw me. If only I had never come into being, or had been carried straight from the womb to the grave. Are not my few days almost over? When will this end? Turn away from me so I can have a moment's peace. Stop looking at me. I'm so miserable. Before I go to the place of no return, to the land of gloom and doom, to the land of deepest night, of deep shadow and disorder, where even light is like darkness. Before I continue the story, let's back up and find the gold. Let's find the treasure. Let's find the beauty. Naked I came from my mother's womb, and naked I shall return. It supports that story for all ages perfectly. Clothing is irrelevant. We come with nothing, we leave with nothing. We cannot choose the day of our birth. We cannot choose the day of our death. We can choose how we live our lives in between. Naked I came, naked I shall depart. The Lord gives, the Lord takes away. It does not diminish His goodness in any sense of the word. My Father gave me good things. My Father gave me bad things. Spankings were not good. And I got a lot of them. Until I turned 12. And then privileges were taken away. But I thought no less of my Father. I loved Him all the more. Because I knew He cared for me. And I knew that His wisdom was far greater than mine. The first piece of wisdom, less is more. The second piece of wisdom, things in life come and go. The third piece of wisdom, you are talking like a foolish woman. Shall we accept good from God and not trouble? That gem is expect the unexpected. On any given day, at any given moment, something unpleasant or unwanted will occur. This is the nature of our life. Expect the unexpected. If you don't expect the unexpected, guess what? You'll miss it. You won't be prepared for it. A fourth piece of wisdom is one of my favorite pieces of wisdom of all time. When Job's 3 friends from afar saw his emaciated, boil-ridden body, and they were so distraught, they tore their clothes, that was the custom of the day, threw dust on their head, and walked over to him, and they sat there for 7 days and 7 nights and said nothing. This is beautiful, because this piece of wisdom is silence is golden. In the presence of suffering, there's nothing to say. In fact, don't speak. Don't offer stupid explanations as to the whys. Just be present. Put your hand nearby. Touch the shoulder. Stay with someone in their sadness. When Jesus went to pray in the garden before His crucifixion, all He wanted was for them to be present and not fall asleep. And they fell asleep. He didn't need words. He didn't need wisdom. He didn't need a pep talk. He needed presence. Silence is powerful. Beautiful. And we all know people who suffer. And sometimes there is nothing to say. But we can always be present and accounted for. This does not mean we have to physically go to their house and sit with them. We can make a phone call or send a card and say, I am always here. I will not leave. Period. Misery needs company. It needs that physical and spiritual companionship. The next piece of wisdom is another one of my favorites. When I read to you, when Job finally cursed the day of his birth, a man is born to trouble as sure as sparks fly upward, when he talks about how he wishes he were absolutely not here. I wish I had died before any eyes saw me. If only I had never come into being, or if I had been stillborn and carried right from the womb to the grave. Aren't my days almost over? Boo-hoo, poor me. This is his boo-hoo, poor me moment. Now you might say he deserves it. He has the right to boo-hoo, poor me. He's lost everything. Shouldn't he be entitled to a little poor me? This is my favorite moment in Job's sad expression prior to God's answer to his poor me. The next chapters detail how his 3 friends try and help by offering explanations. All of them completely inappropriate and erroneous. Bad advice. Avoid self-pity at all costs. Poor me will kill you faster than carcinoma. Poor me will kill you faster than heart disease and too much bourbon. Poor me will kill you faster than not wearing a seatbelt and driving 90 miles an hour. It will erode you from the inside out and destroy every bit of hope and joy and light in your life. Many of us spend too much time pitying ourselves. Poor me. Job's a great example of that. Less is more. Things in life come and go. Expect the unexpected or you'll miss it. Silence is golden. Avoid poor me. Those are your gems of wisdom for today. Later on, and when I see you next month, I'll talk about what God says in response to Job's complaint. Because after all the wailing and the poor me, God opens his mouth and finally speaks and offers a beautiful poetic diatribe. This isn't as pretty in English as it is in Hebrew. This is a poem, and God simply instructs Job on the mysteries of life and the nature of what things really mean. And it's very gentle, but very firm. Essentially, did God say, I am God, and you are not. And there's so much you don't understand about the nature of what you think you're complaining about. And his instruction and his gentle correction is a classic in literature. And I hope you are here not feeling sorry for yourself, ready to listen and enjoy it. I ran a little bit long this morning. I received executive permission to do so. Thank you for coming. Isn't it nice we don't live in the land of us?